Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mark and Smark Connection podcast. I am your host, Jesse Disbro, the Smark. We were originally scheduled to have the Connection back with us today. He was here in the studio, and then he tore a hamstring or something, so he's back on the injured list. But still with me is the Mark, Matt Cooper.
What's up, everybody?
Hey, yeah. You know, Matt Cooper's taken a book right out of the Stone Cold Steve Austin philosophy, cracking open a cold one to start our foray into the WWE, the AEW, New Japan this week. Hooah! We're everywhere this week.
So it would be fair to point out that Stone Cold Steve Austin only indulged after the work was done.
It's true. It's very true, unlike some people. So, this week we'll be having a regular show, no specialty stuff, and we won't be doing like year in review kind of thing that we did, or year in preview like we did last week. We'll be talking about the world of the WWE, and generally this kind of can be a little bit of this is the very start of the road to WrestleMania for the WWE. And it was kind of busy this week with a couple of different things. Some good, some bad, some I'm not even sure what to think of it. But Matt will start us off here with the marking out. That's what it is. Wow,
Yes.
we're recording a little later than we normally do, and I'm a little tuckered there, friends.
Oh yeah, that's what happens when you get past 30 and almost 40. Hey, everybody!
Hey.
I'm in the same boat, so don't
Well,
worry.
I was going to say, speak for yourself. I'm past 30, but I haven't. I'm not downhill towards 40 yet.
No, I think I'm ahead of you in that race.
Yes,
but
yes.
this is the part of the show we call Marking Out. This is where I, the Mark, pick one thing that happened in all of wrestling throughout all promotions the entire week to mark out about. And this week, I am marking out about the retirement, the final match of Jushin Thunder Liger. Evidently, he had Wrestle Kingdom, which is happening as we speak in New Japan. Jushin Thunder Liger will wrestle his final match. And this is a man who has been wrestling for a long time and has influenced and inspired many of the top stars that we see today. So I'm a big sucker for retirement matches. I like them when they're done well. Ric Flair should have stopped after that WrestleMania match for whatever. So,
I mean,
that's what I'm marking out
Ric
about.
Flair is weird because he stopped in the WWE, but then he wrestled
It
more.
went to TNA or whatever.
So, like, technically he stopped in WWE canon. It is weird, yes. But I think Jushin Thunder Liger will shut it down. Because, you know how old this gentleman is?
Dude, that guy should be in his 50s or 60s or something.
55. Yep. 55
How do you like
years
them?
old. His professional wrestling debut was March 3rd, 1984.
That is barely 2 years after I was born.
It actually was before I was born.
So I'm the one that's closer to 40, huh?
Yes.
But yes, this man
there.
has had a long career. So it's good to see him not put out to pasture, but it's good to see him retire on his own terms.
It's good to see him brought behind the barn and shot in the head, you know.
No, that's not what I meant.
I know it wasn't what you meant. So yeah.
It sounds like he's going out on good terms with the accolades and all that other good stuff. So I am marking out about that because I do like to see longtime performers retire gracefully and stay retired.
Yes, it's very nice to see. Let's see that he will be taking part in a tag team match, to close out his career. Wow. So there, and it's a nice star-studded match and a star-studded lineup. But yeah, that'll be the end of that. Joe and I got to see him live and in person in his only true WWE appearance at TakeOver Brooklyn, the very first one, back in 2015 when he was 50 years old.
But he was only 50
Yeah,
years old.
and he got to work with Tyler Breeze. It was a good show. Breeze at this point, he's a 50-year-old. He can still do a lot of the stuff that he wants to do, but he does need some help with some of the stuff.
Oh yeah.
And he got some of the help with some of the stuff, but he's wrestled everywhere, almost literally everywhere. He had many matches in World Championship Wrestling, including a feud with Brian Pillman Sr. He returned for a couple of different matches every now and again, even through the Monday Nitro 1999 era. Obviously, IWGP was where he made his name and where he basically revolutionized what it was like to be a high flyer.
Oh, yeah.
In wrestling.
And this is a gentleman who, I mean, Sports Illustrated named Jon Moxley as the Wrestler of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
I think part of that was because he went between so many promotions. He was in the WWE, he was in New Japan, he was in AEW, but
and he was top of the card basically in all of those.
Oh yeah, but Mr. Jushin Liger has been everywhere for a long time.
Absolutely, like Ring of Honor, and you start to go through the names that Liger has faced over the years. Like in WCW, he faced Rey Mysterio Jr. He faced in Ring of Honor. He faced Bryan Danielson, aka Daniel Bryan. Samoa Joe. He actually teamed with Samoa Joe. He also faced Adam Cole for the Ring of Honor Championship. Yep, I know that's part of his name for you. I mean, there's just like you can look at a long list of people who are still going, like Christopher Daniels, who's wrestling with AEW right now. Back when Liger did his tour of TNA. So there's just like La Sombra, which was the masked wrestling personality.
La Sombra.
Yes,
I remember that gentleman.
You do know who he is. I was getting to the point to unmask him for you.
No. I know La Sombra, yes.
Yes, okay, who is he?
Oh, yes, he was a wrestler.
Yes. He is the current U.S. champion in the WWE.
That was Andrade?
Yes, that was Andrade Cien Almas. Who?
Really?
Yes, that was La Sombra, and he wrestled. He wrestled against Liger as well when he went to CMLL, which is one of the major wrestling promotions in Mexico. So it's a long and storied career. Wrestling Twitter was full of different, look at this match. Or I remember like Brian Pillman Jr. Put the match up between Brian Pillman Sr., his father, at what was it? It was like Starrcade 2 or something like that. One of those, and Super Brawl 2. That was what it was. Because Liger had won the World Championship, the WCW Light Heavyweight title. But in that match, he showed a couple of, it had the highlights, and, tongue-in-cheek, Brian Pillman Jr. was like, look at these couple of spot monkeys going at it. Just kind of, the whole, a little derivative of people calling people who just do flips, that sort of thing. These were two of the highest flyers in a sport that hadn't really, at least in terms of American style, hadn't really accepted high flyers at that point.
Man, I know how that is. So, hats off to you. I would say masks off to you, but
yeah, no, that guy's he's probably gonna be buried in that mask.
No, yeah, well, fuck, I don't blame him at this point.
Yeah.
So, hats off to you, Jushin Thunder Liger.
Yes, I've got at least one good memory, and you could ask basically any wrestling fan knows who he is, and most of them can point out some bit that they can remember of good times with Jushin Liger. So here is my part. The next part is the Smarks remarks. And holy crap, there was a bunch of crap. Uh,
Yeah, it's like we were gonna take it easy, but there was a lot of shit that happened last
yeah,
week.
there was. I mean, you can take NXT off. So NXT had a full show on Christmas, and it ran unopposed to AEW, who didn't have anything. But AEW had a full show this week, and NXT basically was like a clip show, and they announced all the award winners.
Yeah, I saw the ratings for that. That was like, but
Yeah, I mean it's a clip show where you're announcing award winners. You're not gonna. It was basically they basically traded that. It might as well have been 0 because that's what AEW had last week.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't really care that much. Match of the year ended up being Johnny Gargano against Adam Cole in the 2 out of 3 falls match.
Okay.
Take over New York.
Surprise.
Velveteen Dream didn't win anything. Sorry, Matt.
Okay. Ire expressed. We can move on.
And Adam Cole did edge out Shayna Baszler for NXT overall competitor of the year.
That's a tough contest, to be honest.
It is tough. The Undisputed Era basically swept most of it. Adam Cole he was part of 4 different wins.
I'd have given Shayna Baszler a little bit over pretty much the entire men's division because I feel like she carried a lot of that sort of by herself.
Well,
I mean,
don't forget the whole "What have you done for me lately" business.
Oh well, of course.
Because Adam Cole has a championship and Shayna Baszler doesn't.
Yeah, it's what you remember that has happened recently.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and that's often a problem in a lot of these sort of like end of the year who was best things. It's like you forget most of the year. So
yeah, it's pretty simple.
Okay.
So that's what happened. In that show, up against it, AEW actually had a real live show. Results. So that was great. I'm just pulling it up here in a second. There was so we had that's right. The Arn Anderson was accompanying Cody Rhodes this week.
Oh, I've heard. Is that the like WWE superstar who quote unquote you would be shocked to find moved to the AEW? I saw a lot of clickbaity articles about that.
I don't know. I don't think so, but maybe. He's a classic. He's from the Four Horsemen, and they ended up. I think Darby Allin had a match against him that Cody ended up winning by pulling up the knees for the coffin drop, which is Darby Allin's off the top rope. But that he pulled up the knees because Arn Anderson was yelling like, "Get him, Rock! Pull up your knees!" kind of thing from the side.
Okay.
So it's a face, a face manager, which we don't see a lot of. So it'll be interesting to see how well this goes over.
You're right. A lot of managers tend to be sort of like, if not heely, then assholes in their execution.
Right, exactly. So, it's it's a very interesting thing going on. And there was a fatal 4-way match for, I don't know, like a women's thing or something where Riho retained.
Okay.
They were just kind of moving forward. Here's one thing that if you liked the whole Firefly Funhouse bit and you like kind of more story being told through vignettes and stuff, you want to go to joindarkorder.com. The Dark Order stable has
just like a meta or whatever.
Yeah, like a viral kind of thing. And They've been doing a good job. The vignettes have been very good, and they've actually they've started turning some rostered wrestlers to the Dark Order. It's fun.
Okay, so that will be the spooky bit for AEW, huh?
Yeah, that's at least one of the spooky bits.
Which I felt that since the introduction of The Undertaker, at least, that professional wrestling does need kind of a spooky bit. I mean, it's, theater, so
right.
You gotta have some scary parts.
The the format that All Elite Wrestling uses on their website to do the results for their show is really just not conducive to me reading it.
They ain't got those WWE web designer bucks yet.
No, I mean there's some bold stuff, but it doesn't necessarily tell me what happened. So here's the bold. The Natural Dustin Rhodes versus the Spanish God Sammy Guevara was up next! Exclamation point.
The Natural Dustin Rhodes?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's not Dustin Rhodes' thing, right? I thought he was just Dustin Rhodes.
No, I mean he's used the Natural before.
Oh, okay.
Especially when he's been Dustin Rhodes, so he just kind of took it back here.
Okay, no, I get it, but yeah, no, it's hard to follow. Tune in as we bury AEW's website.
I mean, no, seriously, I just gotta I have to parse into because I usually I read. So when I usually do the AEW Dynamite results and stuff, I check in on Bleacher Report or something like that. Where it's okay, here's who were fighting, here's a synopsis of what happened, and here's who won. Mm-hmm. This is kind of somebody wrote a blog about it, and then in the final and this is and then the next section is somebody's notes on what happened.
Goodness, okay.
And I'm sorry, but the main event was another top level main event. Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks took on the Bastard Pac and the Lucha Bros. So that was
Bastard Pac. Is that what they're calling him now?
Yes, that's his nickname. And it has been since
the son of a bitch motherfucker, Pac.
Yep, that's basically the gimmick for a Pac, and it works for him. He's a nasty mofo. So
I mean, he sort of looks it, which no offense,
right? But he's just got that mean-looking face.
Yeah, he can't help how he was born and the way he carries himself and the way he looks and this.
Well, it is the way he carries himself, because as babyface Neville, he had that big smile on his face. He looked more amenable. In fact, that's why Vince McMahon wanted to make him Mighty Mouse.
Mighty Mouse.
Yes.
Oh God, that
was going to happen.
Instead.
But the two main WWE shows both had really big bits, really big important things that happened.
Let's start with Raw. What did they do with Raw?
So Raw, it looks like maybe Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe are going to team up.
Okay, great, cool.
Aleister Black has finished the feud with Buddy Murphy. He came out on top.
Yeah, figures.
Charlotte Flair declared herself the first woman in the Women's Royal Rumble match to enter. Not necessarily number one.
Okay. Wait. Meaning that
there are 29 other spots left for the Women's Royal Rumble.
But doesn't mean she's going to be the number one.
Exactly.
Person.
I am going to be the first person to declare for the Royal Rumble.
We're all aghast and surprised at that.
Yes. Also, in other Women's Royal Rumble news, Becky Lynch will defend the Raw Women's Championship against Asuka at the Royal Rumble.
Okay.
Drew McIntyre debuted a new cool guy persona against
McIntyre.
Yes. So he's not just he's
big mean, just meat
Scott
out.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's hanging out, taking pictures with people in the front row, polling the audience, and beating up Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins in a 2-on-1 handicap match.
Well, of course, because
Mm-hmm. Yep. But really, all that crap was basically just a precursor for the big thing that they closed the show with, the big thing that everybody wanted to talk about before and afterwards and during. The wedding of Lana and Bobby Lashley.
Okay, so I was expecting this to be a train wreck, and not a good train wreck. I was expecting it to be like crap television, but evidently, according to the wrestling subreddit, a lot of people fucking watched it, and at some point, that segment became like the #1 trending on YouTube. So what happened?
So it was both kinds of train wreck. It was both bad and it was bad and then steered itself back into like so bad it's good. Yeah. So Lana, they, it was they kind of played to the point that this is going to be a wrestling wedding.
Yeah, let's give it the Reader's Digest version for the people.
So they played that this is going to be a wrestling wedding. So that there was two, like when the officiant got to the point, if anyone had any business, why they shouldn't be married, and apparently Lana's first husband came up and was like, and then Bobby Lashley punched him in the face, and that was it. And then Lashley's first wife came out, and then Lana was like, nope, get out of here. She threw the bouquet right in her face, and that was that.
Okay, wait a minute. These are like
just random
not
people.
Kayfabe. These are.
I don't know, and no one cares.
Okay, so
these were just random people going in there, and Lana and Lashley were just like, no one cares, get out of here.
Yeah, because clearly, whenever they ask somebody to say something, if they say something, that will stop the whole goddamn wedding unless you punch them in the fucking face, right?
Yes, that's basic etiquette.
Yeah, it's a wrestling wedding, right? Okay, so cool.
And then we got the final re-debut of Liv Morgan coming out in this top that was like half like jacket and half like dress.
Okay.
Like literally one half was like a dress strap and the other was like jacket.
Did she have a problem with the union of Bobby Lashley?
Yes, because the love of her life was getting married. And she couldn't deal with it. And Bobby Lashley was like, no, I've never even laid a hand on this woman.
Oh.
So Liv said, no. I'm here for Lana.
Okay. So they threw like a lesbian twist on this.
Yes,
they was like, yeah.
They threw a swerve that wasn't, just something that they haven't done before in there, which, commend WWE for doing something they haven't done before. I'm not sure how much further we should commend them.
We're
going
Sonya
to dissect this a little bit. So there was some tweets from Sonya Deville and her tag team partner Mandy Rose following. Neither of them were like, it should have been me, Dolph Ziggler style. But they weren't like wholeheartedly behind the angle. They were a little like nondescript in what they were saying. And if there was 100 million billion fans who were like, "What the hell? Why isn't Sonya Deville in this angle?" And I will address that in a little bit. Let me just finish this. This because that wasn't the end.
Oh Jesus!
Lashley in the pre.
Does Rusev like bust out of the cake and beat people up?
In fact, he did.
What?
Whilst wearing a bow tie. Correct.
Wearing a bow tie. At least he was dressed for the occasion.
Yes. A sleeveless cutoff tee and a bow tie. Yep.
Okay, well that is a wrestling wedding if I've ever heard one.
So Liv Morgan and Rusev teamed up together essentially, and Lana got thrown into a cake, and that was it. Hooray! We did it! Yay! So that's where.
Just Liv Morgan's new repackaging.
I guess so. Liv Morgan's new repackaging. Now we haven't gotten deep into the character. We haven't found out what the deepest of motivations is. Whether they're going so there's some outrage. It's like, oh, gay shock. What this is, this is so 2005 of you WWE.
I mean, it does have Paul Heyman written all over it.
It does have a little bit of Paul Heyman written on it, and Vince McMahon signing off on all the checks. But WWE does a lot of scorned lover storylines, does a lot of these kind of storylines. It stands to reason that eventually they would get to a same-sex scorned lover storyline. And if it is handled where it's not just like, hey, gay, bi, whoa, 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 and it becomes more of a general scorned lover storyline, I think it should be accepted pretty well.
I see a point.
Mm-hmm.
I think people might be opposed to the dramatic beat where it was like, a scorned lover. Mm-hmm. And then Bobby Lashley was like, no, it wasn't me. Mm-hmm. Yes, it was her.
Well,
they might have been upset about that.
There is shock factor to that. And it's both a shock factor, like, wait, we expected it. Well, because everyone expected it to be Lashley. So
and to be fair,
so the WWE played right into all those expectations.
Well, and to be fair, we've had it played up that Rusev was a sex addict.
Mm-hmm.
Sex addict. Okay, I'll stop. And maybe he was the father of the Canales child, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then all this other stuff, and so it was a pretty normal gender sort of binary. Back and forth up until that particular twist. I can understand why that might upset people.
Mm-hmm. Well, now we find that maybe Lana has cheated on Rusev, not just with Bobby Lashley openly and in front of him, but also with Liv Morgan. So that's interesting. And there was a flippin', like, Lana was actually tweeting pictures of Liv and Lana together on her Twitter at some point, which I'm not sure, like, I passed it by quickly because I was doing other things, but I was like, wait, are you happy about this? Are you mad about this? What's going on, Lana? And, I don't know. So, let's go about the character selection for this. Do you have anything else to say about just the simple...
No, what it did do is it's the same sort of towards soap opera storytelling that gets people to look at it.
Right.
I mean, whether it's like, whether it's woke or not, people were like, woo. Right. So, the wrestling fans especially.
Yes, you're right. It hits all the basic soap opera beats. And it's something that still happens on soap operas if you're watching.
Yeah.
Just random women saying that, they're ruining another woman's wedding because they had an affair.
Yeah, but on those soap operas, they don't fucking beat the shit out of each other in the ring later. So.
No, they just cause a mysterious accident to happen for somebody else so they can be written out of the show. Yes. That's how they deal with it. So here I have a quibble with this that is not the fact that it's Liv Morgan running the female scorned lover bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's more Rusev still being in this stupid angle.
You mean that he hasn't been jettisoned to go off to be the free Rusev? Because
Yeah.
I remember last week on our podcast, you mentioned while I was bad-mouthing this angle, you were like, no, don't knock the fact that Rusev can go and be free and sort of refresh himself in a way. I mean, divorce it, forgive those choice of words, but divorce it, if you will, from the whole scorned lover cuckold angle or whatever.
Yeah.
It allows Rusev a fresh start, right? And fresh starts are difficult to manage in wrestling sometimes without them seeming like hackneyed or whatever, and say what you will about this whole goddamn thing. But there's still the opportunity for that, right? Mm-hmm. And
I mean, this is one of the few times when I would say to the WWE, it's cool, you can forget Rusev's involvement in this angle and just have him go off and do something different. Most of the time, I want them to finish angles. I want them to tie everything up nicely. But you know what? If Rusev jumping out of a cake to ruin his former, wife's wedding, I think that's enough. That's good. Go off and do your own thing now.
And
Please
you know what?
extract yourself from this feud.
There is something to be said about getting over it and moving on.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, wrestling, generally speaking, that's not something that the performers are allowed to do for a lot of things because it makes for easy, like, drama or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the man has been, like, I don't want to say the man has been jerked around. I just want to say that he hasn't had it easy.
No.
Because I don't want to sit here and, like, I don't want to, like, predator blame, which sounds weird. Let me rephrase that. I don't want to blame the performers per se, because this is the angle they find themselves in.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be hard for us to separate them, and we know that Lana and Rusev are still married in the real world, right? But I still think it would be far more courageous for them to allow Rusev to go off into the wild blue yonder and, perform as a single man on television and not sit there and hold a grudge and all this other stuff, Forget about his relationship. Allow him to be free.
Yeah, and here's where separating performer from character is where I think using Liv Morgan in this spot is better than using Sonya Deville.
I see what you mean.
First of all, Sonya Deville is on SmackDown.
Yes, and I've heard that Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose, I've heard that there was talk backstage about making Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose into like a same-sex angle, but Sonya Deville's girlfriend didn't like that.
Right. And that's one of the reasons that I was going to point out here, is that, second of all, Sonya Deville has a real-life girlfriend.
Yeah.
That if we're going to do these angles, if we're going to put some of this reality in there, that's in a layer that's too technical. And the other thing is, Sonya Deville has been the Sonya Deville character, not, gay Sonya Deville.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, if anything, she's a wrestler who, happens to be a lesbian. Boom.
Yeah. And,
so to put her in an angle like this, I feel that it would be too easy or put the onus on too hard to, the sexuality of the character rather than the character just being part of this angle.
And it's an interesting balance because you want representation, you want people to be themselves, but you also don't want to be exploitative.
Right.
And
the whole point of the whole movement is that everyone should be treated equally.
Yeah. And if you wind up exploiting that, then it degrades it in a way to some extent. I'm talking about this current situation. I'm not talking about past examples like quote unquote blaxploitation or stuff like that.
We're just talking about this particular angle in the WWE, and traditionally, we can take a little bit of color from how WWE has traditionally handled same-sex angles before. They were only ever been tastefully done once, which was the Billy and Chuck angle, and then they ruined it when they went to have a wedding, and Billy Gunn was all like, "Oh, I thought you just wanted me to be a tag team partner. I'm not gay."
Yeah, no, and they've had a lot of sort of like gay panic characters in the past.
Right.
Like Goldust used to be that.
That was the gay panic. Gorgeous George. If we go all the way back, that character doesn't really exist anymore, which is a good sign of the times.
I think so too. And by the way, if you're listening and you are gay, lesbian, bisexual, or trans, and you have comments about this, leave it in the comments section. We'll talk about it. We might even invite you on the show to talk about it.
Right.
So, but
we are supporters and allies, are we not?
Generally, yeah. I mean, not just a but a hell yeah, as Stone Cold Steve Austin would have said.
So don't get us wrong. Don't have us go anywhere. Obviously we don't have the full spectrum of all experiences. So if we talk out of turn or anything like that, please do talk to us in the comments. We'd be happy to chat with you. always
Yeah.
open for discourse. But you know what? Again, as I do with a lot of storylines that start, I'm
Mm-hmm.
willing to give it a little bit of time to see if it's going to be garbage, whether it's going to be handled poorly,
Mm-hmm.
or whether this, because like I said, if this just becomes another scorned lover angle and not heavily played up to the fact that these are two women, like this isn't, part of the women's evolution, we now have two women that hate each other because they were, scorned lovers. The first time in WWE that two women will fight each other for, nuptials or something like that. If they don't do that, I think that this could be a fine way to move forward.
It's interesting that if it's just treated as a matter of course,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to a milestone,
Right.
which
Which
that's
technically it's a
interesting.
milestone, but the whole point of like the movement is it shouldn't be a milestone.
Oh yeah, yeah, and there's a balancing act there. You have to acknowledge the first time for some things,
Mm-hmm.
but other things need to be accepted as course.
Right.
So,
And I think this is something, if it's accepted as course, if we just end up in a Lana Liv Morgan feud that comes out of this, where Bobby Lashley ends up being the manager in the feud, I could get behind that.
oh, so could I.
So let's talk
Well,
about something else. Let's talk about the other half of the WWE shows. Let's talk about SmackDown, and that was a lot more about who showed up in the new year rather than what was happening.
okay. So who showed up in the new year?
Well, some pair of dudes that I was just thinking about going, it's been a while since we've seen these guys. I hope, everything's going well for them. And that's the Usos. The Usos made a return to Friday Night SmackDown as part of during the main event.
Mm-hmm. The Usos are back.
Yep.
Okay. Did they? I remember one of them was found to be not liable or sort of no or something. Like he got out of whatever trouble he was in.
Right. Well,
Okay.
they still gave him some time to kind of take care of that, get himself back together, spend some time with the family, just kind of center themselves.
Yes, which by the way, folks, that particular behavior that they are accused of is self-destructive.
Mm-hmm.
And if you find yourself having problems with it, if wrestlers are having problems with it, they need help. Reach out.
Yes, exactly. And there's a support system in place in WWE and with the Usos. It's the whole Samoan dynasty. There's a lot of people that they can fall back on. I know we didn't see Naomi for a long time, and I assume that at least part of that was her helping out with the whole situation. So I'm glad to see them back. I hope this is the last time we have to see some sort of time away for wellness kind of issues for them, wellness policy kind of stuff. So they're a great tag team. They're super exciting. When they went to the day one-ish Usos, they became a completely different character that we just hadn't seen work as well as they did in WWE in a long time. So I'm very happy to see them back. And another guy I'm very happy to see back is Sheamus.
Hey, Sheamus is back.
Yeah.
Mohawk and all. Fantastic.
No mohawk. He's back to his old hair.
That spiky flat top?
Yeah, spiky flat top thing. And he's got these huge, like, mutton chops. Like, if you imagine an Irishman with mutton chops, that's what he's got.
Okay. I'm doing my best, but no, I'm imagining some like Fable style mutton chops.
These are attempting to crawl down his neck.
Oh, now if you're gonna have mutton chops, don't half-ass it. Don't give yourself little thin lines.
No.
Let it be big and bushy.
No, so he's got the connected to the mustache, and he's got the separate like underlip goatee with the naked chin. He's back to that look. That was the previous
Those
Sheamus
underlip
look.
goatees are called soul patches.
Yes.
I mean, I know you might not want to refer to it as that if Sheamus is sporting it, but
Yeah, I don't know if he's quite a soul patch brother, but
I hope they can find his way back to Cesaro and they can be friends again.
I don't know. I think that ship may have sailed. I think Cesaro's working with the Intercontinental Champion right now, Shinsuke Nakamura.
Oh yeah, go well. The two of them can team up against Shinsuke Nakamura. Then
No. They're the Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro are the team now.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, bro. That's how it's going down. It actually looks like they're angling Braun Strowman towards Shinsuke Nakamura and the Intercontinental Championship.
That's a hell of a thing to have angled at you.
Yeah, it is. Well, that's why they threw Cesaro in the as a roadblock to Shinsuke Nakamura. Cesaro lost to Braun Strowman on Friday.
It's like we need something muscly and strong to at least get in the way.
Mm-hmm.
Cesaro, here you go. Bruh! Under the bus.
And the final return was John Morrison, who we spoke about a little bit a couple weeks back when it was announced that he re-signed. He came out of
get a load of this guy.
Yeah, get a load of this guy. He actually came back. He didn't wrestle, but he came out of the Miz's dressing room this week, and Miz and Morrison were a tag team in the past, and it looks like WWE might be willing to put them back together for a bit, and it looks like they might be willing to turn Miz back into a heel to do so.
You know, I think Miz works best as a heel.
I think he does.
And if you had like Miz and Morrison, you'd have a tag team. And as we said in our last show, the WWE, we feel, needs to beef up their tag team division. So.
Yeah, it's speaking of the tag team division, they actually had 2 tag team wrestlers wrestle singles matches this week.
Okay, what was it, like Big E and somebody?
No. So it was where's the first one I wanted to talk about? That was Sheamus returning. Okay. Shorty G had a match against Dash Wilder.
Must we still call him that?
Yes, we must.
I do not like
get your brand new Shorty G action figure and Shorty G t-shirts and everything at the merch store.
Is this shit gonna be Micro Machines? Because it better be.
But now he's taking on like the 6.5 foot tall, 300-pound Sheamus, I guess. So yeah, it'll be if that's an angle, it could be interesting. If that's just Shorty G putting over Sheamus as he returns, then whatever. It is what it is. The other tag team wrestler in action was Otis.
By himself?
Otis by himself. He was very mad because the cake that he gave to Mandy Rose was crushed on the floor last week.
Who crushed it? What asshole would do such
I don't know, but I'll tell you the asshole who jumped on the opportunity to try to deride and dress down Otis because of it, and that was Drew Gulak, who has, since being called up to the main roster, has done nothing but get into the face of all the wrong people. So
he got into the face of Otis,
and then Otis cooked him. Took him right out, did the caterpillar worm thing, and squished him.
Well, I mean, Otis looks like a gentleman who knows how to cook.
Yes. So this whole unrequited love thing seems to continue to be going on. But it looks like Dolph Ziggler might be moving out of his feud as the henchman for Baron Corbin into a potential feud for the affections of Mandy Rose in a Otis Mandy Rose Dolph Ziggler love triangle. I'm not sure why I'd even said that.
God, they're like throwing Dolph Ziggler at the wall to see what sticks. I thought he was okay with Baron Corbin, to be honest, and Baron Corbin, King Corbin, as he's now known. It seems like a person who needs a henchman, right? Like Seth Rollins has the Authors of Pain, so
yeah. Yeah, and that worked out fine. They actually were still going to team together for the main event, which ended up getting derailed by the Usos, and then later the Fiend, who was coming after Daniel Bryan, who was teaming with Roman Reigns. Yeah, that's why the title in the recap for this is The Usos Returned and the Fiend Bray Wyatt emerged during a chaotic main event. Because there was just shit everywhere.
Okay. Sounds like they're getting people back and ready for Royal Rumble.
Yep, that sounds about right. This is the start of the road to WrestleMania. So we're just kicking it back into high gear after kind of a sleepy December. So, yeah. It might be, he said, why don't you watch a little AEW for the rest of December? Well, now we're back into January, and maybe it's time to start watching a little bit more WWE instead.
Or tune into what's happening at Wrestle Kingdom.
Yes, Wrestle Kingdom is exactly where I was just about to go. So Wrestle Kingdom is the 14th Wrestle Kingdom event. It is the biggest wrestling event probably this side of WrestleMania. And over the past several years, there was a good argument to be made that it was bigger than WrestleMania. But it just depends on the style of wrestling you like. Whether you like 15 kickouts of finishers and things like that. Still, they at least do it right. They tell a good story in all of those. A fair amount of the kickouts make sense, which is all you can really ask if you're going to have 5 to 10 finishers in a match. Is at least they make sense.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So this year, they're still weaving some AEW wrestlers in.
Yeah, I know that Moxley's supposed to be there, right?
Yep. He actually wrestled on the Saturday. And he beat champion Lance Archer for the IWGP United States Championship, which is a belt I think he has already held. And
he gets another one.
Yep, he vacated it due to travel issues. And in June of this year, or October of this year, and so he's just reclaimed it now here at Wrestle Kingdom. So he's now an IWGP champion whilst performing for AEW, and actually the AEW champion is in action on Sunday. Chris Jericho versus Hiroshi Tanahashi, who is one of the top performers in New Japan.
Oh, wow. I imagine Jericho losing that one, but it'll be a... Well, I don't know. It's
weird. Let me give you
the
stipulation, and you can then double down on that. Because if Tanahashi wins, he will receive a match for Jericho's AEW World Championship.
Okay, yeah, so Jericho's going to lose.
Yeah, there's a good chance that he's going to lose.
That is probably the only way you could allow the AEW champion to save face while losing in the first round of,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the first round of the match. So who's the champion going into this? Oh, okay. Our good buddy Hideo Itami is back with New Japan and under his old name, Kenta. So he's defending on the second day against Hiroki Goto. And that's for the Never Openweight Championship. New Japan is hosting a defense of Revolution Pro Wrestling's British Heavyweight Championship, which is Cruiserweight Classic alum Zack Sabre Jr. is the champion. Jon Moxley will be defending that IWGP United States Championship on the Sunday against Juice Robinson, the first ever IWGP United States Champion. And on the Sunday is the retirement match for Liger.
I think that's probably where all attention will turn.
Well, that is looks like it's the second point on the card. It won't be all attention. They have a history of trying to burn the damn house down. So
who has a history of burning a house down?
And New Japan Wrestling on Wrestle Kingdom.
Okay.
Like they just want to just absolutely destroy it. Okada, Kazuchika Okada defeated the gold. I think it's the Golden Boy. What's his something about gold? Kota Ibushi. What's the gimmick?
Look at me, Lion. I had to call information earlier to find out Jushin Thunder Liger's pronunciation. So,
but so he's Kota Ibushi is one of the top performers as well. And Okada is multiple 6-star wrestler. Okada will be in action against Tetsuya Naito on the grand finale on night 2. And that's a double gold dash match. Which is, I believe there's going to be multiple falls. And one will be for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. And one will be for the IWGP Intercontinental Championship. Which... Okada's the heavyweight and Naito's the Intercontinental Champion. So that should be, I don't know, ridiculous. That should be that they're probably planning on that being a 7-star match.
Goodness. Sounds like it if it has those many falls.
Okay. It looks like it's just going to be winners take all. That's just how New Japan calls it.
Rolls.
That's how they say it. So both titles will be on the line. Someone will win both titles.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting. Now, you know what else is very interesting? Wrestle Kingdom takes place over 2 days.
Oh, yes. I heard you say during the pre-show that it was suggested that WrestleMania also do that. Take place in 2 days.
And I think that popped up immediately following WrestleMania 35, where it went on forever, and the historic women's main event of WrestleMania didn't really feel that special because people were dead.
Yeah, they were dead because it came on at like midnight.
Right, it started at like midnight, and there was already like 7 hours of wrestling that had occurred before that.
Yeah, and as big as wrestling fans that we are, for God's sakes, we have a goddamn podcast. There's still a point where you have to stop, you know?
At this point, I'm yawning, thinking about getting back to my hotel at like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, there are still those things to consider. So, Vince McMahon, we know you're listening. WrestleMania over 2 days?
Here's the thing. Is WrestleMania already 2 days? Because TakeOver is the night before. And we hold the TakeOver events are usually as good, if not better, than the main roster events.
Well, NXT is now a main roster. So
yes. So should they kind of do spillover between the two events?
Yes.
Should they kind of pull a little bit to put in? Maybe they put the two together, or they co-brand it.
Yes.
I'm okay with that. I think maybe like there's like TakeOver WrestleMania essentially is what it would be called, and you'd have some of the WrestleMania matches happen there.
And to be honest, most of us wrestling fans already set aside that entire weekend for WrestleMania. So put it on both days.
Yeah, why not?
And let us go to bed at a reasonable time.
Yeah, I think that would be ideal for all parties involved.
Oh, I agree.
So, before we go 9 hours and make everybody fall asleep, I think it's time for us to move into our hot take segment. See, I'm falling asleep right now. So in this segment, what happens is we get a little time to shine on our own. At this point, we got to talk about anything we want that has something to do with wrestling, whether it's something that happened in ring, whether it's how much we enjoyed the final deletion and believe that the WWE should have more full-on gimmick matches like that, or whether it's just the fact that, Joe's mom got a Secret Santa gift that included a John Cena t-shirt and one of those toy microphones that you can yell in and it makes boos and "This is awesome" chants.
So the way we start this segment is we say hot tag, hot take, and I'm going to go first. And for my hot tag, hot take, I would like to thank the 411 operator who, kind of on a whim, I called to see if she knew how to pronounce Jushin Thunder Liger's first name. She didn't. She informed me that this was not a name pronouncing service, but when I said, "Who do I call?" she says, "All right, spell it out for me and we'll try." So, hats off to you, 411 operator. Thanks for giving it your all. And we were kind of close. She said it was Yushin, but it turns out to be Jushin.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So hot tag, hot take. This is me popping in as hot as I can after getting gassed this whole match. Ugh. But I'm coming in here gonna give a little bit of props. This is the kind of thing that we normally call out. Congratulations, Nikki Bella got engaged to someone whose name I can't pronounce. I can pronounce his first name. His first name is Artem. But his last name is just letters. And it's just there's too many V's. But I'm looking forward to, they were partners on Dancing with the Stars. So if you watch that show, you absolutely 100% know who this guy is, and you'll know how to pronounce his name. So congrats to both of them. Hopefully that means Nikki can get what she wants, which is the pitter-patter of little feets in her life. But congrats to them. We're still waiting on John Cena and his engagement speech for whoever he ends up settling down with forever, which I don't know about John Cena, may never happen. He just keeps on going and keeps on working.
Okay. And now it's time for the finishing move. The finishing move is a move that I come up with on the fly during this show based upon what we've talked about. Today I'm going to take the easy road out, relatively speaking. I'm going to go with a classic sort of brainbuster, a Luthez press, a shooting star press, a Liger bomb. There it is. Those were just some of the finishing moves that Jushin Thunder Liger used throughout his career. And I feel like we should leave with the Liger bomb, which is a sit-out power bomb. So kaboom, kaboom, kapow! Thank you, Jushin Liger.
Thank you. We're happy to have you here, Jushin Liger, and you are an inspiration to all of us. You can catch us chatting about Jushin Thunder Liger previous in other places, and on our previous podcasts, and on this podcast at markandsmark.podbean.com, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play Music, YouTube, Facebook.com/markandsmark, at markandsmark on Twitter and Instagram, and on the Daily Smark website. So thank you all for hanging in there with us. We're looking forward to the new year and all that crazy stuff that has already happened and will probably continue to happen in the world of wrestling. Until next time.